guys, what's going on? Bobby here, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm going to be going over an onboard video, and I'm gonna kind of give you guys like an inside the racer's mind, try to give you guys a little bit of advice and some suggestions and kind of review my performance and other drivers' performances. And there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time wrenching and making these small adjustments to handling. There's a lot of guys that don't do a lot of setup at all. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm a firm believer that the factory setup is typically always a good starting point to be at. And I don't rarely venture away from what the factory setup is. And if you don't know what the factory setup is, there's an Ignite setup guide, and I try to stay pretty close to that. And as you guys have known, and if you've seen on the videos, don't know who's been on my channel for a long period of time, don't know who's kind of new to the channel. Last year I won the Ignite Championship at the Gateway Kartplex, and I finished second in the Ignite Challenge Series, finishing behind Alexander Surley, who's had a lot of experience in karting, 2-cycle, 4-cycle, so I don't feel too bad about that second place either. So I don't want to come off as like, do what I say or you're not going to do well. There's a lot of different avenues that you can take, but I think you can be a little confident listening to me. I've been fortunate enough to have 3 years under my belt, struggled a lot early on, know what I had to change to fix it, got a lot of advice from a lot of the people that, you know, have helped me out along the way, and trying to kind of give the favor back to you guys as well. So before I do that, I just want to let you guys know we do have new merch in the store. I don't want to be super YouTuber plugging my merch, but with the upcoming race season coming up and me trying to work out all my plans and everything, I want to just let you guys know that all this stuff, that if you go out and you buy a hoodie or a hat, that all of that kind of helps support me, helps support the channel, gets content out to you guys, allows me to kind of do more racing. You know, it's a very expensive sport, as most of you guys know, and yeah, so go check out that Spreadshirt store. There will be a link in the description, and as on top of that, I want to let you guys know that I'm working very hard to get my 2020 plans out there. I am very desperately looking for financial and sponsorship support. So financial support, if you're just an individual that, you know, realizes how hard I work and trying to make it to the next level, and if you want to help me with my dream, you can throw me the 20 bucks or the $5 or whatever on my PayPal. And if you're a sponsor, if you own a business or you know somebody that owns a business, basically, as you guys have seen on the videos, logos on everything, and I offer my video production services. So I've been doing video production for 10 years, so I offer that, and graphic design, photography. It's a lot more than just a logo on the cart and on the helmet. It's basically having your own media specialist to bounce stuff off of, to also, once again, be a part of someone that's young, up and coming, and trying to chase their dreams. So all that I appreciate. If you can help it out, check it out, bobbykrug.com/sponsorship. Link is also in the description for that as well. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into this onboard video. So as you can see, we are starting off in the 5th spot. We're running just the normal track layout, starting behind Trevor Egemeyer. So we've got Evan Stammer, Eric Laudeke, Trevor Egemeyer, and Adam Kreppen. Now, all these people, I can trust all these people up ahead. You kind of have everybody's driving style in your mind. Now you kind of want to, the more you race with people, the more you'll kind of know who you're dealing with. But you want to kind of have a ranking system of where you see how aggressive they are and how competitive they're going to be. Now there's people that are at a good level of aggressive, and there's people that push it beyond that point. For example, when me and Hunter Richardson got into our situation in 2020 and I got into him, that was an obvious mistake on my part. I was impatient, which led to me being over aggressive. So in that situation, I pushed it past the limit of the scale. And so when you do stuff like that and you make those mistakes, then drivers' perceptions of you are going to increase that number. For a 7.5, that's someone that's going to be aggressive. They're going to race you hard for a position, but they're not going to take you out and throw you into a barrier or throw you over a curb most of the time. And so the thing is if you're at that 7.5 level, you might have race days where you kind of go back down to a 6. You might have days where you go up to a 9. And the better drivers are those that can kind of keep that span to like a, I always know what I'm going to get from that driver. If you're at a 5, you're kind of like just there. You're not racing people super hard. You're you're racing them fair and clean. You can make more of a dive bomb pass if you know that you're gonna get within the cart length off the curb to the apex. You know that you can make that move on someone that's a 3, because as soon as they see your nose, they're gonna kind of give you the space anyways. If you're racing against me or an Eric Lodicki, someone that would be a 7.5 or even up to an 8.5 on a given race day, we might just crowd you, because we don't, if you're not there and we're already committed to making our move, we think that's our corner. If you're able to beat us to the apex of the corner, some drivers might have a differing opinion. So that's all kind of things that you have to be thinking about, is you kind of have to be aware of who you're racing against. That's enough rambling. Let's get into some of this racing action. So as you can see, I am on Trevor's bumper because he's not on Evan Stomber's bumper, and I think that's kind of a courtesy thing, is you don't want to be pushing people super hard. I'm on the brakes early here to get into the corner. You can see that hurts me very bad, because then the driver behind kind of runs into the back of me. So you also kind of, I don't want to run into the back of Trevor, because he's in a respectable number range for me. So I'm not going to kind of hassle him through a corner. I'm going to give him a lot of respect and a lot of room. The driver behind might have got pushed into and gotten to me, so I'm not going to be super upset. I'm not going to be like throwing hands up in the air and looking back and staring at people. As soon as you start doing all this presentation, like you throwing your hands up or you're flipping people off, you're no longer focusing on racing. Keep your hands on the wheel. Like don't do that stuff. Try to internalize all of your emotion until after the race. If you're going to start signaling to people, make it kind of worth what the racing situation is, whether that's the tap on the back of the head that signifies updrafting, give them a point, like we're gonna go, let's go past them. Like you want to be making encouraging gestures. You don't want to be doing this stuff, because then you're telling them that you're not happy with them, so they might race you more aggressive. So as you can see, they're 2x2 up ahead. It's still early on in the race. No need to make any moves that are super crazy here. Just kind of go with the flow of the race, because these guys are obviously the Ignite program is so spec and everyone's so pretty close competitive that you know there's going to be a lot of racing up ahead, so you just kind of want to be patient and find that flow. And although this race was only 15 laps long, as you can see here, Trevor gets a little bit close there with Adam Kreppen, and as you can see, I am alongside of Kreppen here, but he's already focused to the right. So he's going to end up running me over this curb, which I didn't like in the moment. Looking back at the footage, I can kind of understand where he may not have seen me or he's just being aggressive. But in the moment, this really ticked me off. And when you get ticked off, like I said, you don't want to be all gestures. I kind of bottled that up, and I'm like, all right, let's effing go. Like, I'm not going to be pushed around any longer. And this was before my reigning of winning races. This is before I had won a race. So there's a whole other thing that happens to your mentality once you win a race. Just keep that in mind. That's something that I try to focus in on. But you can see there was a lot of little side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel contact between Trevor and them. I don't really put anybody at fault. That's just kind of unnecessary, hard racing really early on in the race. So as you can see, I get pushed over the curb. And the big thing with four cycle as well is that it's very momentum based. So you can see that Worley and Chubb were able to get around me. I'm about to get made, a pass is about to get made on me into this corner that you could also think is pretty aggressive. This is kind of very similar to one of those dive bomb passes that I would say, where you kind of make that execution of the pass in the middle of the corner, and I immediately return the favor. So it's another thing of like not only ranking people based on that, but you also want to be in the moment very flexible on how you feel about drivers. It's not like as soon as somebody passes you, it's like, all right, that's Avery Schwalm. He passed me like this, I have to treat him like a 6. It's not like that. It's more like eye for an eye situation. So if Dylan Ellsworth was willing to make a move on me that I considered to be ballsy, considered to be dangerous, I might be willing to put myself in a situation to pass him back like that. When push comes to shove, that's kind of how it is. That's not typically how the Ignite program is, but that's just kind of, I've been in some situations like that. Mostly everything that I've ever done, I would say 95% of it, maybe even more than 95%, is relatively clean. So that was just kind of and even the dive bomb thing's not super dirty, because he was able to kind of make it work to where he didn't put me in danger, and I made a pass on him that didn't really put him in danger either. He kind of expected it. So as you can see here, I'm on the back bumper of Chubb through a corner. that's something that I do a lot of that has bit me in the butt recently. As you can see, I make a nice move here on Whirly. I'm to his inside now in turn number 2, and that's kind of the thing that no matter where your track is, you kind of need to understand where it's good to set up a pass at. And the door was open for me in turn 2. So you kind of like go for an open door and you're like, okay, now what do I do with this? So you're coming up to turn 3 here, which is a left-hand corner. So he's gonna be on the inside. Now I've taken the preferred line on the entry of the corner. So that means that he's gotta either slow down and hit the apex and try to hug a low line, or he's gonna try to execute a pass and he's gonna shoot out wide in front of me and I'm gonna over under him. I wouldn't be able to necessarily go side by side with him through that corner and try to make a pass on the outside because he's gonna get the less traveled distance. So I kind of have to check up here and try to over under him. That's nothing that I can really teach you. That's something that is, you just learn that. That's kind of like the flow of the track. So you're gonna see here, he's gonna kind of overshoot the corner a little bit. He hits the apex, but he travels out a little bit wide. He's at a loss of momentum. You kind of want to take advantage of drivers that are at a loss of momentum because he was in that passing situation with Chubb. It's gonna take him potentially 3 or 4 corners at Gateway to make up that time. If you're at a track with longer straightaways in between those corners, he's just gonna be lacking speed on a corner. We saw it early on in my race. Once I had my situation there with Adam Kreppen, I lost 3 spots. So it's when you lose momentum in the 206, the 4-cycle kart, it takes you a lot longer to get that momentum back. It's very momentum driven. You'd be better off to check up and not make a pass on somebody and lose a tenth, 2 tenths, than to try to make a super crazy pass and then potentially put yourself super out of line and then lose 5 tenths to a second. The winner of the race is not the driver with the fastest lap time, rather the driver with the lowest average lap time. And that is typically the driver that makes the least amount of mistakes. So you don't want to be the guy that's trying to always go super fast and always try to make a pass. You want to be very consistent, patient, smooth, calm. And when I won my race in Whiteland and I got to the lead for the first time and I was leading, it was a very stressful situation, especially if you've never led a race before. And so in my mind, I kind of went back to, this is a practice session. Calm down, like just hit your marks and don't worry about messing up. Whatever happens is gonna happen, you know? If there's a driver that's clearly got a better setup and faster than you, that was determined essentially before you even got on the grid. So you just gotta fiddle with every situation and just try to make the best out of every opportunity. The only thing that you can do as a driver is try to be consistent, smooth, and try to make it mistake-free. No matter what you do, mistake-free will help you out a lot. So as you can see here, although that we lost a lot of positions, we're still essentially with the front runners, you know? Stammer, Lodicki, Egemeyer, they're all still there. And we got speed on Matt Chubb here. We got speed on Adam Kreppen as well. I think we actually had the second fastest lap time of the race. As you can see, Chubb here, he went like he was going to pass him out wide. And if we take a look at an instant replay here, going into turn 2, he tried focusing so hard on giving him a little bit more room than maybe necessary that he's in turn 2 and he gives a little bit extra wheel input to try to give him more room on the exit of turn 2 and probably to help him through turn 3. And that little bit of extra room that he opens up the door to make it in turn 3 not only allows me to get to his inside, but the binding of the wheel. Anytime that you turn the wheel, that's an application of brake in a sense. So that little bit of wheel input slowed him down and kind of hurt his momentum. I saw the opportunity to where if I can just throw it in there, I got this momentum, everything's just going, let's just keep going. And so because of that, and Matt Chubb being side by side with Kreppen here, Kreppen loses a little bit of speed. Now we're in a situation here where it's like, okay, what kind of pass do I make? I think that in this situation, I'm close enough side by side with him to where if I get a move and try to throw it down into this inside line here, into the North Pole turn, that I will be to his inside before we get to the apex. That's kind of one of these moves that I'm talking about is, and unfortunately you catch drivers off guard by doing that. If you're racing like Briggs, like open 206 classes, if you're racing 2-cycle classes, SCUSA, WK, whatever. And once again, I don't know this from personal experience, but it's a lot more aggressive driving styles. Like dive bomb moves and everything, it's kind of just the way that it goes. Ignite is obviously a more family, fun, friendly spec, you know, kind of deal to where these aggressive moves aren't, we're all friends, so you don't want to do this to a friend. But in national level karting, that's kind of expected. So and it doesn't look as good on the GoPro as what it probably actually is in real life as well. So I'm going to make this dive bomb move. And especially because I was already somewhat upset with Krepin because he threw me over the curb. So I felt like I can make a clean pass here, and it may be a lower percentage chance pass, but I'm going for it. I've got the momentum going up. He was at a little bit of a loss of momentum. We're going to make this pass. Then sure enough, he gives me the room. Go in the corner, I slide up a little bit, no contact, and we make the pass. Now we're back where we started. So that's kind of another thing of being impatient maybe on my part by trying to make that pass on Adam Krepin. If you just kind of stay in line and work on your own pace and try not to make stupid decisions, you'll be fine. And that's to say that maybe Krepin should have let me by. That's just racing. And if you try to get hung up on that kind of stuff, if I, to this day, was racing against Adam Krepin and was like, you know what, I remember back in 2020, race 1, he put me over that curb on purpose. So any chance that I get, I'm going to send him over. That's not how you look at it. Racer, we all make mistakes. And no matter who was at fault, we all make mistakes. So you kind of have to reset, by your given race day, unless there's somebody that's historically always aggressive. So here we are, we're trying to plug away at some lap times. Here's some good footage of just the generic normal track layout with me trying to grind on it. This is probably in the same stint where I get my fastest lap time. 36.204 was the best lap time by me, which was the second fastest lap time. So it was either within this stint or our next stint after we make a couple more passes here. So I'm not necessarily gaining too heavily much on Stammer, Lodicki, and Eggemeyer, which is very good to know. They're pulling away. I don't want to say they're pulling away. I'm gaining on them a little bit, but it's not like I'm just catching them, right? I'm able to ramble on here and I'm not already to them. But as you can see here, this is not necessarily a mistake, but we're getting closer to the end of the race, so he's going to make a move similar to what I made on Krepin, between Eggemeyer and Lodicki. So they go into a corner here, and you can see Eggemeyer's he's not super far alongside of him here. He's kind of like the Krepin pass with me, like what I did, except Eggemeyer kind of stayed where he was. He didn't really dive bomb him, he just kind of gave him the room. Eggemeyer, in my opinion, is a little bit of a lower numbered driver. It sounds offensive when I say it like that. He's still probably like in the 5 to 6 category. Like, he's gonna race you hard, but he's gonna make it clean. And sometimes focusing in on being a clean driver may give you opportunities like this where you don't want to make the pass because you don't want to wreck the guy, but then it's gonna really hurt these guys, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. And Lodicki here is actually, like I kind of compare Lodicki to me in my rankings as like a 7.5, can able to go up to an 8.5 and maybe a 9 or a 10 on a really bad day. And Lodicki's doing a good job here. He's giving him like a lot of room. So you can see that Lodicki here is committed to the outside line, but he's also kind of following behind Stammer. So maybe Lodicki doesn't necessarily know that Eggemeyer's trying to make a pass here. So they get side by side, they're straight up right here. And this is just the chicane. Trying to go 2x2 in the chicane, you can't do it. Here, this is a situation where Eggemeyer was technically there on that one, but then you're side by side with the guy, so you should give the guy a little bit of room at the next chicane. Going into that chicane, he gives him the room, but it gets Lodicki over the curb. And so then Lodicki has all this speed built up, and he kind of chops over Eggemeyer a little bit. So it's one of those things where with Eggemeyer, if you were going to make the pass, you really want to get clear before the chicane. As you can see, that's where me and Hunter Richardson got into our problem, the chicane, because you can't go 2x2 in it. So that's kind of Eggemeyer there, kind of you can't go side by side through the chicane, so it kind of hurt both drivers. So no one's really at fault here. It's just kind of a victim of the chicane and going side by side through it. And as you can see, I've gained a lot on him on the exit of the chicane. So we're gonna easily pull alongside Eggemeyer. He's lost the momentum. I've got the preferred line in the 90. I'm clear of him by turn 1. Turn 1, you can see Ladeke is struggling. So I'm right here to the back bumper. I'm gonna cut to the corner, gonna cut to the apex, and get to the apex really quick. Once again, another aggressive pass, but it's clean because you're getting to their inside before the apex of the corner. Now we've got our sights set on Evan Stammer. Now, unfortunately, we won't pass Evan Stammer. If we had not made our mistake with Kreppen, we were fast enough to kind of we could have been bumper to bumper with Stammer. But we made the mistake early on, so we were unable to take advantage of the speed that we actually had in this race. And it's good to note that, like, Evan Stammer is one of the best young national 4-cycle drivers. He is the best driver in an Ignite kart, probably just period. Leave it there. He's won in a lot of different things. He's won in a lot of different tracks. He's been doing it, for a little bit longer than what I have. And, him and his dad both. His dad knows a lot about setup. Stammer's very smart, knows a lot about setup as well. He won the challenge race, kind of wrenching on it by his own, and he was always making adjustments, and he was getting consistently faster throughout the day. Evan Stammer is the real deal. So to be able to have this kind of speed, to be able to stay with him is positive. It's a good thing to look at, but it's also kind of like a darn, like, if we didn't make that mistake, we could have probably had something for him. But, and once again, that's another thing of racing. So as you can see here, another good opportunity to kind of see what these laps look like. And we're just trying to do everything we can to catch Stammer. You're always focusing forward as we get 2 to go from the flag stand. And this is kind of your grind time. Now you kind of want to try to throw everything you can at it without overdriving the car. You don't want to underdrive it to save it. You don't want to underdrive it. You don't want to overdrive it. You just want to drive it. You just want to be consistent. You want to be smooth and calm. But yeah, you want to be always focusing forward. You never want to look behind you. Now, if you're Stammer in this situation and you know that especially when you get to the white flag, you kind of want to know if you need to be making a block, which some tracks may allow you to do that. Some tracks may allow you to make one move. As we're here at the white flag, I'll pause for a second. So you may look back in those situations, or if you're in a really tight battle for a very important position. But for the most part, I never look behind me. And you might say, well, then how do you know if there's going to be a driver there that's trying to pass you? And it's one of those things in karting is we don't have a spotter, so we don't know if there's somebody there. So it's kind of just the road racing, I don't know if road racing is the proper term. It's the road racing etiquette of, unless I see you in my peripherals, you're not there. So it's also another reason why the Kreppen pass was able to work, is because I wasn't just at the bumper. I was able to, be in his peripheral vision. I think iRacing, since everyone gets a spotter all the time, that, it kind of makes it confusing. So that's how karting works, and that's how I think most people kind of view that, are you at my inside or are you not at my inside? And that's kind of the thing, is like if you're able to get into their peripherals before they're a kart length into the apex, that's clean in my opinion. They still have to respect the fact that if you're on the inside, they got to give you room, no matter if it's at the apex or before the entry of the corner. That's how I look at it. You might have people that disagree in the comments. If you disagree with me in the comments, just go ahead and throw it down there. But this is just me kind of speaking from the experience. Like I said at the top of the episode here, that it's coming from my experience. And you kind of, although some stuff might seem aggressive and a little bit too much and not super nice, it's kind of just the way that you have to do it to win a championship, which that's just kind of how it is. So here we are at the last lap. White flag is out. Our last chance here to get to Stammer. He's a little bit, some drivers you might be able to chase down at this point, but Stammer, since he's so consistent and he was already gone from the start, We might be able to make up a little bit of ground here, but we're not going to be able to pass him. So this might be and you can see, he just looked behind him to kind of see what his situation was, if he needed to fin going down the North Pole. So I may have also looked back to see, well, did Ladeke and Hagemeyer, become friends again? Are they bump drafting? Are they right behind me? Or are they racing it out for third and I can kind of just drive? So as you can see here, checkered flag is out. Now you can do whatever you want. You can give a fist bump in celebration, or you can throw your hands up at the air because you weren't happy with how something happened. So yeah, as you can see, Hagemeyer was actually right behind me. Relatively, you can't really see what's behind you. And then also, it's always good to kind of just, give people thumbs up. You always want to be encouraging and positive. I know that I've made it sound like that there's a lot of aggressive things that happen, and that's how you have to win races, but it's also, there's a lot of positivity there. And especially in the Ignite program, everyone's always friendly and sharing advice and sharing notes. I believe that, in conclusion, that 4-cycle competition is kind of taking karting by the neck. I think that 4-cycle can prove that a driver can be good in bigger and better forms of motorsports, whether that's Formula cars, sports cars. It teaches you a lot, and I think with the fact that it teaches you a lot about if you make a mistake and momentum. I've said that a lot, and it's very important. That in a 2-cycle kart, if you mess up a corner, you've got just so much power just immediately once you get on the gas that you mess up one corner, you might be able to get it back a lot quicker, extremely quicker, than in a 4-cycle where it's very boggy and it's like, ugh, now I've got to get the clutch going again and got to get moving again. It might take you half a lap to a lap to kind of get back into the rhythm of things. And I think that teaches a lot of discipline as a driver, teaches you consistency, and teaches you the art of momentum. And like I said before, you're chasing down the fastest average lap time. Hopefully this video meant something to you. Hopefully it was good. Hopefully it, for people that are new into the sport, or trying to learn the sport, or trying to just get everything they can out of it, maybe even someone that's a little bit more experienced might be able to get something out of this. So, and then once again, let me say again, I don't like to put my opinion out there most of the time. I like to give everyone straight facts, or kind of just in the vlogs talk about what has happened. I don't give my opinion a lot. So this is like one of my first opinionated videos, just kind of going into my mind as a race car driver, kart car. If you enjoyed that, let me know. Leave a like and comment down below if you thought this was good, if you have anything you disagree with. I know there's a lot of experienced karters that watch this, and to be able to bounce it off other people down in the comments and start a very valuable and constructive conversation in the comments would be very good. So once again, thanks for watching. Also remember, check out the links down below for the spreadshirt and sponsorship, and if you enjoyed it, also share it, because let's grow the ATA network. I know that we've been kind of away and I haven't been able to make a lot of videos since COTA, and hopefully, actually I know that we'll have a lot of videos coming up soon, and a lot of things that I'll be able to announce and hopefully tell you guys about and bring you guys along with in this 2021 season. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.